welcome everybody. My name is Jackie Rafter. I'm the president and founder of Higher Landing. We are a career transformation company, and we're based in Calgary, but we service pretty much professionals all over Canada, and we're now starting to make some inroads into the United States as well. So our job is to help people transition their careers. Some of you might even have worked with companies like ours in the past, helping your supervisors or your bosses as an outplacement provider. So keep us in mind if that happens again, or if your companies are in need of transitioning their staff. So today, Catherine has asked me to do a three-part series. And the first in the series is talking about value. So a lot of the work that I do is helping, or that we do, is helping people rebrand themselves and not just land a job, but to land higher. That's really our mission. So a lot of our clients are in transition, so they're looking for their next opportunity, but at the same time, a lot are currently working. So I'm going to try to address both groups here today. And if you have any questions, you guys, as we go along, please feel free to just ask. You can just unmute yourselves, and away we go. But I wanted to talk to you about value, because this is the one thing that has really changed in the whole world of job search and career management. We can no longer afford to take our skills to market. So I know that might come as a bit of a shock to some of you, but that is the reality that we are facing right now. And the reason for that is that it is so competitive, and so many people have the same type of skills, that if that is the only way you are presenting yourself, good luck in either getting a job or getting a raise or getting a promotion. You have to brand yourself differently. And the whole new world of work, you guys, is about value. And this is the one thing that most people really struggle with, especially administrators, because so often, you all often put other people before you, right? And so a lot of the work that we do helps you to work on yourselves. So when it comes to taking yourself, to rebrand yourself, or to get a job, or to get a promotion, or whatever, I want you to look at yourselves as though you were a product that was going to market. And so to make it really simple, 3 steps, I'm going to go through this today: transition, branding, and marketing. So very simply, number 1, you have to know what the product is. Number 2, it has to be packaged properly. And the third thing you do is you take it to market in that order. And where most people don't understand the process, and they get stuck, is that when it comes to that branding piece, what they're branding are their hard skills. You can't do that anymore, you guys, because it's too competitive. So unless you've got some outrageously impressive breadth of technical skills, don't identify yourself that way. You are so much more than that. You are your value. So what I'm going to talk to you today is about how you actually identify that value and how you take that to market. So when we think about COVID, you guys, what has changed since COVID for your profession? I just like to hear some comments from you.
Everyone had to adapt to
working from home now.
Working from home? Yeah. What else? You can
probably less FaceTime with your manager.
Yes. How has that been going, you guys? How have you adapted to that?
You have to be very deliberate with your manager about connecting and meeting and with your colleagues. Like, it's not just walk down the hall and you're having a coffee. Like, it's a very deliberate reach out to meet them where they're at.
For sure, Camille. Is it easier or harder to do that, do you think?
It's not as spontaneous, so you can't just catch people as they're walking by your desk, or see if your manager is in or one of your team members. So as Camille said, it is deliberate, but what I've also learned, it's communicating, but having something of value to communicate. You know,
Mm.
perhaps a reminder, perhaps just checking in, or you know, what's been done so far.
So how is that evolved the required skills of an administrator? How has that changed what you do? You're having to think differently. How so? When we talk about being say more deliberate and say proactive, what does that mean?
You have to remind people that you're still there, because now you're not visible.
Right. So you guys, where I'm going with this is that it is probably more important now than ever that you understand what your value is and that you let everybody around you know. So I'm going to go through some examples with you today, but it is really important, you guys, that you invest some time in understanding what your value is and then being able to articulate that to others around you, above you, and below you. So when you think about COVID, in addition to your jobs, bigger picture, you guys, what we have essentially seen is effectively 2 years of digital transformation in 2 months. So perhaps some of your employers, you've noticed this with your employers. A lot of businesses, unfortunately, haven't made it. They've had to close their doors. A lot of layoffs have occurred right across the country. But on the upside, there have been a lot of businesses that have had to transform, and actually it has been a benefit to them because of that. So when I look at our business, for example, we are a training company based in head office in Calgary. We've got a big training facility downtown. And then when COVID hit in March of last year, we couldn't have anybody in that facility. So it was just gut wrenching. And it's like, oh my God, what are we going to do? So within 2 weeks, we had to move our entire physical business to an online platform. And it took, it pretty much killed me because I'm not the most technically astute person out there. But at the same time, our futures and our livelihoods were dependent on it. So we had to change. And so these are some of the things that you're going to have to do. So with respect to COVID, things are changing so quickly, you guys. The problems that we had prior to COVID that you had to solve are different than they are today. How you deal with your bosses is different before COVID than it is today. And one of the things that I'm just gonna tell you now that is probably one of the biggest gifts you can give yourself is to do something called an IP on your boss, on your network, in any important conversation that you have. So I want you to write that down, IP. Now, in your world, what do you think IP might stand for? What does typically IP stand for? Does anybody know?
Usually related to the IP address of your computer.
Yeah,
Where-
could be.
Where
Yeah,
your computer is.
for sure, IP address of your computer, or some people refer to IP as intellectual property. Exactly, Whitney and Kathy, or Katie. So IP is, when it comes to your job, I want you to remember IP, not because it's the IP address of your email address, but it refers to the 2 most important questions to ask anybody in any important conversation, and especially either in a job interview or with your boss or with your colleagues. And the reason for this is that you will never be able to be effectively useful to anyone unless you know their IPs. So I, write this down, stands for what's important to you. P stands for what are your pain points. So what I want you to do is to, after today, find, whether it's a family member, a friend, or your boss or a colleague, I want you to do an IP on somebody. So ask them, what is important to them and what are their pain points? So there's different ways that you can identify pain points. You can say, well, what's keeping you up at night? What are you really struggling with right now? What are your top 1, 2, 3 challenges? If there was one thing you could get off your plate that would make your life easier, what would that be? And I'll tell you guys, once you are armed with that information, and then you are able to address those pain points, I'll tell you, you you will be unstoppable. And you want to develop a career where somebody has to rely on you, you do IPs on them. So it's not just about identifying their pain points. Identify which pain points they have that are important to them, not 6 months from now, but today. And so, and a pain point might be different today than it was yesterday. So the most successful people and administrators I have ever worked with, they're actually out there asking me and asking other people, so what's going on? It's a great way to start an IP. What's happening? What's going on? What's, you know, so, you know, if there was one thing I could do for you today that would make you put a smile on your face, what would that be? You know, if there was, you know, what would nirvana, you know, if you had, if everything was just working perfectly in the next 3 months, what would that look like to you? Right? And so please try to, and the only way to really get good at this is practice. So this is where I want to just mention, IPs to organizations and employers prior to COVID are different today. So it's even more difficult for you to maintain connection and engagement with your employers virtually. I mean, I find it myself. And so it's really important that you go out of your way to maintain that connection and keep asking those around you what their IPs are. You should be doing this every day. And it can be really subtle. It's not like, you know, hey, sit down, Mr. Boss. You know, I want to ask you what your, or, you know, what's on your mind and what's important to you and what are your pain points today before we go any further. No, it's not like that at all. It's understanding what is bothering them, what is keeping them up, because this is how you can make yourself of service. And your value, you guys, should always involve an element of service. So if you want to become indispensable to somebody, know what their IPs are and then manage your career to that, to keep solving them. So, so this is, doing IPs are far more important in this whole COVID time than they were before. And part of that is because businesses have been forced to automate at record speed. So you can just imagine, I mean, think of the turmoil that some of your employers must have gone through. I mean, there's a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, things happening so quickly, government legislation. Are we going to send everybody back into the office or are we not? Are we going to have them work from home? Well, I like that. No, I don't. I want them here. No, well, you can't have them here. So it's all of these unknowns that have created such job market uncertainty, not just for us, but for our employers as well. So when we talk about value, I want you to I just want to mention some of the bigger picture trends that are happening. This may or may not be relevant to you, but we're seeing a lot more people create diversification within their careers. So even as an administrative professional, you guys, I've seen admins take on different kinds of work. So even the admin, my administrator who's pretty much my right hand, I keep giving her more and more because she keeps doing IPs on me, understanding what my pain points are. And it's like, oh, well, Becca, you know, if you think you can take that on, well, I'm happy to give it to you, but you know, I don't want to overwhelm you. It's just, no, I can. So now it's come to the point where, you know, my life is reliant upon her. So, but her job is continuing to diversify. So if you know what's bothering your bosses and what they're struggling with, what's keeping them up at night, you can make yourself essentially indispensable. So high level, we're also seeing new jobs in multiple industries. This is also going to happen for admins. Your jobs, you're going to have different job titles. You're going to be entering, you know, new skill sets. You're going to be having to learn new skill sets. And you're also going to have to be learning to automate things. So we're in a time of automation. When you think about the kinds of industries and businesses that have been reduced to a fraction of the number of employees because of automation, which ones come to mind? Which industries do you think have downsized significantly because they've managed to automate their services or their processes?
The banking industry?
Absolutely. Banking for sure. Financial services. What else?
like the fitness industry, like gyms and, you know, face-to-face like trainers and that sort of thing.
Right, right. And the other thing, you know, think of wherever there was a point of sale, you know, where there was a person that was managing that point of sale. That's now been automated by robots or by technology. So when you go into a Walmart, or not a Walmart, like a Home Depot or a Lowe's, you know, soon you're going to be greeted by a robot. You know, robots are going to be stocking shelves. You're going to go through a cashless till, right? Cash register, and you're going to be doing it all on your own. So these are things that are ramping up. COVID has just accelerated the pace of these trends that were already in place prior to COVID. The other thing I want you guys to be, the reason that this is so important for you is because I want you to understand any process-driven work is going to be at risk if it can be standardized or fully documented. And so, you know, think of the stuff that you're doing that is very remote, very mundane. I just saw somebody in the chat mention something about expense reports. Yeah. So eventually that is going to be, you know, that's something that companies or those that professionals that have an ability to automate things are going to be saying, hey, I can make your organization run better, faster, cheaper through technology, and let me show you the way, right? So you're going to be seeing more automated services versus face-to-face interaction. I don't like that, but that seems to be the truth. The trend moving forward. The other thing too is we're going to be using these tools. These tools are going to be replacing live meetings, and not that I like it, but this is kind of the new reality of work. So if you don't already, if you're not already comfortable with using these remote tools such as Zoom and Microsoft Teams and things like that, please get some education on that. You can learn it on your own. Ask some of your peers, ask some of the members in AAP to help you, because that is something you really want to have on your resume. You don't want to lose a job opportunity just because you don't know how to use these tools. And really, you know, it's not rocket science. If I can learn them, trust me, any of you guys can, because you're way more astute than me. The other new trend too, and as we mentioned it earlier, was more the trend for more remote jobs. So what I'm seeing now are people taking jobs in other cities just because it doesn't really matter where they work. And you're going to be seeing that more important going forward for administrators. It doesn't have to. I mean, I don't remember the last time I saw my right arm, who is my administrator. She's my ops manager. And but it doesn't matter. She's there for me all the time. And so please bear in mind, if any of you are in transition, I just want to encourage you to consider opportunities outside of your geographic region. Because it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to move. I mean, eventually you might want to, but for now, don't worry about that. So that's something, I guess, it's a positive that has come out of COVID. So the other thing you need to know too is because of COVID too, the job market has become far more competitive, and you can no longer rely on your hard skills, you guys. And as I was mentioning earlier, so we're going to talk about how career security is replacing career security is replacing job security. However, the only way and please remember this, you guys, the only way to have career security is by knowing your value or your brand or your secret sauce. And that's what we're going to go through today. Because remember, a job will be taken away from you in a second, oftentimes without notice. Maybe that's already happened. And that's a harsh reality of the world right now, the world we live in. But you guys, so because of that, you want to hang on to that which no one will take away from you, which is your value. Knowing your value stays with you for life. Nobody will ever take that away from you. And you know what, the other thing, your value has really got nothing to do with your last job title or your current one. Your value has been with you for life. It is something that you have been carrying around with you. It's been following you around like a shadow, and you've just never stopped to look back to see what it was called, or who it was, or what it was. Well, now is probably the most important time in history to look back and find out what the heck that value is that has been with you for all life. You cannot peel your value away from you. You cannot extract it away from you. It is part of your DNA. So your value is being able to explain to somebody how will their life or their company be different with you in it. Are you going to let them sleep at night? Are you going to take away their stress? Are you going to make them look good? Are you going to do all of the stuff that nobody else likes to do? What is your value to them? And then you have to make sure that they know, because once you understand your value, that is what you want to be known as the go-to person for. This is how you build sustainable, unstoppable careers where you become indispensable. And then what happens is once you start educating others around you on what your value is, and become the go-to person for that, then they can be in a position to market you. So if your job becomes redundant or your boss leaves, then at least somebody else in the organization might already know what your value is and say, hey, you know, we could really use Camilla over in this department. Yeah, you know, she's really good at sorting out, you know, technical problems that everybody else seems to give up on. Yeah, you should really have a conversation with her. Oh, that's interesting. Interesting, right? So please remember that in times of unprecedented uncertainty, it requires that you lean on those things that are stable. And the only thing that is stable is your value. So know your value and take that to market, because career security is about knowing your value. That is what is going to be replacing job security. There is no such thing as job security anymore, you guys. I hate to tell you that, but it's true. So what you want to do is you want to invest in yourself and in your future, which means investing in some education and knowledge as in order to identify what your value is. So what should you do? Well, you want to educate your employers on what your value is and ask yourself, you know, who else can you help in the organization? You know, and I don't think, I mean, I know that your bosses are probably really busy and have you busy, or if you are in transition, same thing. You know, you've probably worked for somebody who's kept you working day and night. But then ask yourself, you know, what are some of the IPs or pain points of other people within the organization? And then this is how you start building an unstoppable brand. Suddenly people start to know you. Suddenly you start getting a reputation. Suddenly people start recognizing you for something that they didn't know about before. Now, all of a sudden, you've got everybody in all kinds of departments wanting to go to you. And next thing you know, who knows, you might even get a raise because of it. But the point is that I want you to understand who's who in the organization. And I always tell our clients that as soon as you land a job, or if you are working, the very first thing that you want to do is A, you want to understand what your value is. And then B, you want to make sure you're educating everybody around you, above you, and below you as to what your value is, because you guys, that is what you want to become known as the go-to person for. Remember that. And if nobody's going to you, you got to ask yourself, well, why is that? Well, maybe they don't know what they should be going to you for. So it's your job to educate them. Not if you make somebody else guess what your value is, regardless of how great and wonderful you are, they're going to guess. And you know what they're going to guess? They're probably going to guess wrong. So make sure the onus is on you. Career management is your responsibility, you guys. In these times that we're in right now, especially where there's less engagement, less face-to-face contact, I can't see you smile all the time. I can't see your happy face. I can't see how you're making me look good just by, you know, getting me a coffee, because you can't do that anymore. But now what you have to do is you have to be more proactive to be able to educate others on truly what your value is. Who do you want to be known as the go-to person for? And then just say, hey, listen, you know, if any of you, you know, want somebody to make you look really good, just keep me in mind and kind of make a bit of a joke about it, or whatever that value is. So other things that you can do, you can collaborate with someone. And then ask yourself as well, because listen, we can't solve problems on our own anymore. So, you know, you gotta know who's who in the zoo to figure out who you can work with in order to help you to even provide more value. And then also ask yourself, you know, how can you help somebody that you'll never meet again? This is something you can do today, right? So I don't know if all of you know each other here, but, you know, take each other's names down. You should be connecting with everybody on LinkedIn at the very least. And just, you know, how can I help you? I would love to help you if I can. Keep me in mind. This is what I'm really good at. Or hey, if anybody needs some help in understanding the latest version of Office or Windows or whatever the heck, keep me in mind. I'm happy to help. Whoa, this is how you start building a powerful brand, because you're demonstrating your value. The next thing I want you to do is do IPs. Make sure that you're doing IPs every single day, whether you do them with your family, your friends, your coworkers, your boss, whatever. Same thing. Okay, and if any of you are looking to, a lot of people say, well, you know, I want to make more money. Well, my question to you is, please, I always tell our clients that the only way to attract or make more money is to provide value that money will pay for. So please remember that. And so this is often, you know, for those of you that are working, if you're looking for a raise, ask yourself, you know, what additional value have you provided? And if you can't articulate it, then don't expect much in return. And the best way to provide more value is by knowing somebody's IPs. Know that their IPs change on a daily basis. So your job is to manage your bosses and your peers. And how you do that is you find out what the heck is going on. How can I help you today? What's going on? That's a great way to initiate an IP conversation. How are things going? It's really simple. It's not rocket science. Okay, so another thing too, I was going to mention, you guys, if any of you want to reach out to me on LinkedIn, please feel free to do so. All right, so what is your value? So when we think about value, I want you to remember that you're more than your skills, and your value is more than your skills. And it really comes down to asking yourself, okay, so tell me, who are you? And in our program, we take people through through a process that helps them identify their value in a word or two. So ask yourself, you know, what is the value what is it that you have a consistent, positive track record of delivering on? You know, and that is, like I said, and it's not just in work, you guys. Ask yourself what value you provided to your family, or to your friends, or to your social networks. Because you're going to find a common theme. And I know that this is really hard work to do on your own. In our program, we have you work with coaches and things like that, and we do exercises and homework. But generally speaking, it's something you have to put a magnifying glass on yourselves. Because your value is the only constant. It stays with you for life. So it's time that you did nobody else can tell you what your value is either. Nobody else can, because nobody knows you like you do. So when we look at the, oops, hang on one second. So when we look at the value of an admin, you guys, what comes to mind? Oops, sorry, I'm just fiddling with my screen here. What is the value of an admin? I've just thrown up some ideas here, but I mean, I know that there's a ton. In your view, what is the value that an administrative professional provides?
Some of you this will resonate with you, because I know with the AAP we had shirts made, and it says something to the point of solve problems that people don't even know they have yet. So sometimes they don't even know what they need, right? But again, if you can show them what you're able to do, you can be that touch point, right?
So maybe active listening. A lot of admins have got terrific listening skills. Right? Some might say you've got better ESP than the average person, right? But, you know, think about the value that administrators provide. I mean, you know, they're often the link between people and departments. People, you know, you're the go-to person and these are just generic things, right? So, you know, they keep people and projects on track. They solve problems, technical, other kind of problems. Oh my God, my laptop broke down, or somebody stole it, or I can't get into my phone, or whatever that might be. Almost like you become almost an IT help desk person in some cases. The other important one, you guys, and if this applies to any of you, you make sure you put this on your resumes and on your LinkedIn profiles for sure. So when you're marketing your value, it should at the very least be on your LinkedIn. You know, a lot of admins are brand ambassadors for the organization. You know, if you've got an ability to make the organization look good, wow, that's insurmountable value. being graceful under pressure, being able to communicate. A lot of admins are terrific communicators. So if you've got good communication skills, say so. And if you've got the ability to make others look good, make sure you say that too. So I know that there's probably a lot of things that they do. So when you think of how far the administrative profession has evolved, I don't know if any of you guys can remember this far back, but do any of you remember your parents or anybody having these old-fashioned typewriters? I know my mother did. She can't even use a computer now, she's afraid, but she used to type like 100 words a minute on one of these old jalopies. It was kind of funny. But when you think about how far we've evolved, I have no idea what's coming. I don't know what kind of technology you're going to be required to learn, but I meant to tell you that learnability is going to be absolutely key in your profession. And the cold reality is that oftentimes there isn't somebody there to teach you what to do, so you have to learn it on your own. So if you do have a track record of learning things really quickly, you want to make sure that you say so. And because I would hate for anybody to be turned down for a promotion or for a job just because they didn't have some silly application on their resume or in their expertise that they could have taught themselves on the weekend. So if you do have a track record of learning things really quickly, say so. And my advice to you as an administrator, please look for ways to constantly invest in learning new things, learning new technologies, new ways of doing things, project management, anything that you think is going to amplify your value. And one of the things that it requires to really have a great brand and to understand your value. By the way, the next workshop I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be talking to you about your brand. But is connecting your head to your heart. And what that means is being brutally honest with yourself and not making apologies for anything. And oftentimes people want to brand themselves with the same brush that all of their peers have. And why do you think that doesn't work? Oh, I make people look good. Oh, I'm a good communicator. I solve problems. Well, you know what? If you're an admin and you can't solve problems, why are you even an admin? Why are you even applying in the first place? Right? So it's because you should not be, these are too generic. Your brand, there aren't any two of you online today that have the same brand or the same value. Because that is part of your unique career DNA. It is unique to you. But it's your job to figure out what that value is and then make sure that that is on your resume. So this work takes some soul searching. It takes a lot of self-discovery. One of the workshops that I'm going to offer you, and I'm going to give you a discount too, there's a promotion code for AAP members, is a workshop called Knowing Your Brand. It's a 5-hour workshop, 5 or 6 hour workshop, but it's probably the most worthwhile 6 hours you can invest in your career. And we talk a lot about this. So you'll come out of there hopefully with a better understanding of both your brand as well as what your value is. But it requires you to connect your head to your heart. Nobody can do this for you. And what that means is being completely honest with yourself, not making apologies for yourself. And the other thing I'd like to tell our clients too is own your weirdness. And what that means is never making apologies for who you are or what you do. And I've seen people make excuses. Well, I don't have that experience. Oh, they're not going to hire me because I'm come from this industry or this country or whatever the heck. How ridiculous. You can't change any of that anyway. So own it, because therein lies your value. You're going to find threads of your value in that when you start doing this deep work. Never make apologies for who you are. Oftentimes, you can even ask yourself, what is it that you've found that you've been kind of embarrassed about or you didn't want to tell anybody about? And then ask yourself, maybe if you did come out and were honest with others, maybe that's why you would get your next job or a better job or a promotion, right? I've seen this over and over again. And so please do not ever apologize for what has happened to you in your life, because that is your future talking to you. Those experiences have happened to you to make you unique. And so once you start owning them as opposed to running away from them, oh my gosh, that's when the magic starts to happen. And I've got so many examples that I could share with you, but we don't have enough time. But don't apologize for who you are. So just to put this into perspective, I just want to go through this little process with you. This is what I call the career transformation process to help you to go to market. Now, you going to market could be getting a job or a new job, a better job, a different job. It could mean getting a promotion. It could just mean figuring out what it is that you want to do with your life going forward. So, but the same process applies. And it always starts with that first stage of discovery. I call it transition, but it's the self-discovery process. So I want you to look at yourselves, you guys, right now, as though you were a product that was going to market. Okay, so very first thing any company does when they take a product to market is they look at, okay, well, what is this? What is it that makes it different, special, unique? What is a secret sauce? So when we do this first stage, it helps you to identify, okay, well, really, who are you at the core? Let's be real. Who are you really? And what does a purpose-driven career look like for you? Like, what is it that you think what is it that you really should be doing rather than what you can do? So I'm going to take you through a little exercise we're going to do in a minute to help you through that. But that's the first thing you do with any product. You got to know who the heck you are and what it is that makes you special as an admin professional. What's your secret sauce? What are your features? What are your benefits? What do you think it is that makes you stand out from the other hundreds of applicants that might be applying or vying for the same jobs? And if you don't know, nobody else is going to. You're going to remain at the bottom of the pile. I don't want anybody that I work with or I teach to be at the bottom of the pile. I want them to be at the top 10%. So that includes you. So that's the first step. Second step, okay, the first step, remember now, we've figured out what the product is, okay? Secondly, now we're going to package it or brand it, okay? Very logical. So when we're packaging the product, what we're really packaging, you guys, now this is where the rubber hits the road, pay attention. We're not really packaging the product. We're packaging the output of the product, which is your value. So your value is, as I was saying earlier, how will someone's life or someone's company be different with you in it? What are you going to do for them? Or if I hire you, are you going to make me look good? Are you going to let me sleep at night? What are you going to adapt or help me learn new technology that I need to stay relevant? Like, what is it that you're going to do for me? And if you can't answer that, you guys, you got nothing to brand. You're not ready to go to market. So once we're able to identify what that your value is, then we're able to package it. And then we get into packaging. So that includes your resume, your LinkedIn profile, your voicemail, your social media profiles, all of that, how you use these kinds of tools, your physical presentation, everything, how you sound, visual, verbal, online branding. And what employers are looking for, you guys, is consistency of messaging. So even if you are working, you guys, you can still be working on your resume and your LinkedIn profile especially. Your LinkedIn profile is a full-time job to keep up. And so, and remember, you're looking for consistency of messaging. So in my background, I've done numerous things. But most prior to starting Higher Landing in 2015, I had a couple of search firms, and we did things different, and that rather than take people to market, or rather than wait for our phones to ring, we would proactively take people to market. And we would just call up people and say, hey, listen, I've got somebody that I really think you need to meet. And they'd say, well, who's that? Well, I think he could make you look really good. Oh yeah, well, that's interesting. Tell me more. So this is what we were doing when it comes to packaging and branding. That's really what I'm talking about. But when I had my search firm, you guys, I can't begin to tell you, and I do not discount this. This is really important. I cannot begin to tell you how many people I decided, I would call potential good, they looked great on paper, great candidate. I would call them and I'd get this crazy voicemail, and I'm thinking, holy smokes, I can't believe that there's this. Are we talking about the same person here? And I just wouldn't leave a voicemail. So I just discard that candidate, and it could have been great. But because their voicemail did not match their brand on their resume and on their LinkedIn profile, I just thought, forget it. I'm not gonna, I can't get behind that person. I don't want to represent that person. So please check today, go check your voicemail, check your voice messages, and make sure that there aren't sirens blaring, dogs barking, kids screaming, people fighting, people walking on the street shuffling, and all fuzzy voices in the background, because you know what? That's your brand. And when you have that kind of stuff in a something as simple as a voice message, you're educating others on how you want them to remember you. Disorganized, chaotic, out of control. Is that who you are? Is that how you want to be remembered? Okay, that's part of your brand. Same thing right now. I go onto your LinkedIn profiles and I can see if there are spelling errors and you say that you've got attention to detail, busted, forget it. You're out of contention. I'm not even going to promote you because it's the first time I really noticed, oh gee, you can't spell. If you can't spell, it doesn't mean to say that the onus is on you. Have somebody else proof it for you. So your LinkedIn, your resume, your social, go Google yourself, see what comes up. And ask yourself, is this how you want others to remember you? Same thing, I want to caution you about social media profiles like Facebook, Twitter, for instance. If there is anything on those profiles that are open to the public that you would not be willing to share your 80-year-old grandmother, take it down. Either completely block it from the public or just remove it. Because that's a way for you to educate how you want others to remember you. And so it's not just what you post, it's what others post of you. So be careful when they're taking photos of you and they're mentioning you on their Facebook pages. It's really important. One of our clients, he didn't know anything. He was about to hire somebody. And so he came into our program and he said, just like what you did, Jackie, you taught us to do, I decided that I was going to go onto Google and I searched this guy. So I put this guy's name into Google and, usually the first thing that comes up is the person's LinkedIn profile, right? Great. Well, then he said, don't ask me why, because I'm not that technically astute and I don't really care. But he said, I decided to scroll down to the bottom of the first page on Google. And he saw this Twitter entry. And it had the same person's name on it. So he said he clicked on it and he was kind of curious. And all of a sudden, it was this guy ranting about how horrible his last boss was and how he was going to kill himself because of it. And going on about just basically trashing his former employer. So you know what do you think our client did? He rescinded the offer. He said, I'm not going to hire this guy. So we don't even know what is out there on us. So please make sure you guys Google yourself. That's really important. So one of the things that I just wanted to mention to you in the program too, in our case, and this is, if any of you are interested to come and watch one, I'm happy to show you. But we have something called the Grizzly Den, and it's very similar to TV's Dragon's Den. But our clients have an opportunity to present themselves to a panel of decision makers that they don't know, who are there to either help them or hire them. And then if the majority of Grizzlies on the panel feel that they're ready to go to market, they get what we call Grizzly certified. So it's really cool. It's a big day in the person's life. We take their picture, post it on LinkedIn. Sometimes the Grizzlies have even hired these people. It's happened today. We've got a Grizzly Den happening today, and that's what happened. So if any of you are interested in watching, please reach out to me on either LinkedIn or just send me an email at Jackie, Jackie, @higherlanding.com, and I will get my ops manager to send you an invitation. It's only by invitation only. We do them twice a month. The Grizzly Dens go the entire day. If we have time at the end, remind me and I'll show you just a quick clip, just a minute clip of what happens in the den. It's such a cool way to see what happens when watch somebody do a live interview. I mean, this is people prepare several weeks for it. And it's kind of nerve-wracking, but it's extremely beneficial. So the last, and the Grizzlies are going to also tell that person whether they think they're ready to go to market. So if they are, the last step now in this process is, okay, now we're going to take you to market. Okay, and who do you think we're really marketing you to? If you're currently working, who's your target market? Who's your market? Who are you guys? Even if we are working every day, we have a target market. Who might that be?
Our clients.
You could be your clients for sure. Who else? It's your management team. It's your executives. It's your boss. It's your current employers. So please make sure, you guys, that you understand who your target market is. So if you are not working, your target market are potential employers, right? But not just anyone. There are those who will appreciate your value. So if you are currently working, who you want to develop a relationship with most are those that you think are going to appreciate your value. So I'll tell you a secret. If you think that your boss really doesn't appreciate you and you don't want to leave the company, go out and start seeking, do IPs on other people, within other executives in the organization, and find out who you think you could really add value to, and then let them know. Educate them, right? And sometimes our bosses don't appreciate our value just because they don't know what your value is. That's not their fault. That's yours. The onus is on you. So when we start taking ourselves to market, we're marketing ourselves to those we think who will appreciate our value. So in our program, we help people get jobs through LinkedIn, through tapping into the hidden job market. We directly approach employers, show them how to use the online job search tools. But that's about 20%. 80% is using the higher landing methodology. Not playing the job lottery. Job lottery can get you really depressed in a hurry, especially when you're not getting any calls back. Okay, so the next slide I just wanted to show you is this model. This is a great model, you guys, for helping you to figure out what your value is and what your brand is. So, and I'm going to be sending you these slides, so you don't have to take a ton of notes unless you want to. But the very bottom of the pyramid, we have transition. Our job is to work you up through the stages of, we call it transformation. So transformation doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily pivot to do something else. It means transforming to a higher level of awareness of who you are. So the very bottom of the pyramid, we have survival and crisis. So what that means is that if you are going through something really serious in your life, you break a bone, somebody dies in your family, you're going through a divorce, there's some sort of crisis that you lose your job. My advice in that case is you have to do something to find some stability. You're not ready to be strategically, managing your career and worrying about all this stuff that I'm teaching you. You have to find some stability in your life first. So even if that means getting some sort of survival job and you got to go get a retail job or something in the short term, you do whatever you have to do. No one's going to judge you for it. So assuming that's not where you are, we're gonna do an inventory of your skills. And so this is what you should be doing, you guys, and looking at what you can do. So this is a question here. What is it that you can do? Tell me what you can do. And so this is where I would say 90% of people are stuck. And the reason for that is they are constantly spinning their resume out on social media, playing that job lottery solely on the basis of their hard skills. They're just marketing their hard skills. And you know what, you guys? That doesn't work because it's way too competitive. And you're not going to differentiate yourself. And I don't care how smart of an administrator you are, there's going to be other people that know more than you do technically. But so you have to differentiate yourself. And how you do that is you look at also your soft skills. So those things, part of your personality. What are those things that you were born with that you can't take away from yourself? Do you have a great sense of humor? Do you have an ability to make somebody feel good? Do you have an ability to nurture things? Right? Do you like to make people laugh? Like whatever that is. So these are things that are really important. So when you're doing an inventory of your skills, we do hard and soft. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to look at your interests and passions. Not because that is what you're going to do in your career, but you're going to ask yourself, why is that? So to give you an example, if you want to ask yourself, what is it that you do when you lose track of time? What is it that you do that gets you excited to jump out of bed in the morning? What do you do that gets you that you could do forever and it wouldn't feel like work? And so the reason we ask is not because that's what you're going to be doing, but because there's a clue to what your value is behind that. So I just want to give you just a quick example. We had a fellow in the program. He had been he was middle manager of some sort, and he had been terminated from his employer. And so he had worked there, gosh, 15 years or something. And when he came into the program, honestly, you guys, he had a huge chip on his shoulder. And I felt so bad for the guy, but he was so negative. And so I said, okay, Jim, I was trying to take him up this pyramid, trying to make him feel better. So I said, okay, Jim, what are you passionate about? He goes, nothing. And I thought, oh, okay. Well, what are you interested? Do you have any hobbies? What do you like to do in your spare time? And he goes, nothing. And I thought, okay. And I knew he's just in a bad mental state, right? So finally I said, okay, Jim, I said, let me ask you this. What did you do on the weekend? Oh, well, I was gardening with my wife. And I said, oh, that's interesting. So you like gardening, do you? And he said, oh, come on, no, I didn't say that. I said, okay, well, let me ask you a different question. I said, what do you like about gardening? oh, well, I guess it's kind of creative and, I don't know, maybe it's kind of nurturing or something. And I said, oh, so you like nurturing, do you? He said, oh, come on, I didn't say that. And I said, okay, let's go back to your last job. And all of a sudden his ears perked up, right? Because that's where his whole mindset was. And I said, okay, can you think of a time in that last job where you might have nurtured something where it resulted in some sort of a win? All of a sudden he put his head down and there was this dead silence. God, for almost a minute. Anyway, I'm thinking like, what the heck is going on? So I looked over at him and all of a sudden I could see his lips start to quiver. And I thought, oh no, now what have I done? All of a sudden he put his head up and he said, yes, I can. When I think back at my last job, it's like everybody who worked for me went on to do greater things than I did. One became, VP, one became this, one started his own business, and Jim totally broke down in tears. And he said, I had no idea that I had any value whatsoever. And I said, okay, Jim, I said, did your boss know that about you? He said, no, what? And I said, you were the builder of these kingpins. You were the kingmaker over there. That company probably wouldn't be where it is without you. And he said, really? And I said, well, of course. And I said, so did your boss know that that was your secret sauce, that was your value? And he said, no, I don't think so. And I said, well, you know what? I said, that wasn't their fault. I said, that was yours. Because remember, it is your responsibility to make sure that you educate your bosses and everybody around you, above you and below you, as to what your value is, because that is what you want to be known as the go-to person for. That is how you become indispensable. So when he left that workshop, honestly, you guys, he had a skip in his step, I'm sure, that he hadn't had in over 2 years, because he just didn't know what his value was. So this is why these questions are so important. So if you want to attend the branding workshop that I was mentioning, or I'm going to take you through a couple of options. We take you through a lot of exercises to help you through this. It can be life-changing though, honestly. And then we go look at your values and beliefs. We look at what's important to you. The reason that's important, you guys, is because if what's important to you is not important to who you're working for or with, you're not going to be happy or successful, because there's not going to be alignment. Just remember that. It's not that you can't do the job, but you're not going to be aligned. So then the next level on that pyramid is identity. And this is where we help you to come up with a brand or value statement as to who you are in like a word or two. So it could be the Navy SEAL, you could be MacGyver, whatever that might be. Because you don't have 5 minutes to sell yourself. When somebody says, okay, Camille, tell me who you are, you got 5 seconds. You don't have 5 minutes. So tell me who you are in that period of time, that short of time. That's what people are going to remember you. The last step in this pyramid is your purpose. So, what is it that you should be doing rather than what you can do? So ask yourself, are you doing what you think you should be doing now? And if you aren't, this is a time to be doing this kind of career management type of work to figure out exactly what that should be and what it does look like. Okay, so I know we've just got a few more minutes here. I just wanted to touch a little bit upon a lot of people ask what soft skills are. So these are some of the top soft skills of the next year. Creativity, collaboration, learnability is a big one. Multicultural awareness. We're living in a global workplace right now. And social skills and social perceptiveness. So I'm sure that a lot of you have all or most of these. So these are things that you want to show on your resume as well as on your LinkedIn profile. And I often tell our clients, your hard skills might get your foot in the door. It might get you a meeting or an interview, but it's your soft skills that are actually going to get you the job or get you the promotion. So if somebody doesn't know what those soft skills are, how are they ever going to know? If you don't, it's your job to make it easy for them to understand what the heck your value is. Please remember that. Okay, future of work. I've talked a little bit about this, but I want you to know, you guys have to assume control for your own career management, because nobody's going to do it for you. Do not rely on your bosses or your peers to do this. You've got to do it on your own. You are going to be rewarded for the value you bring versus how loyal you are. This is really important, not to discount loyalty, but employers want to hire people that are going to do something for them today. What are you going to do for me today? Not 6 months from now. And that often doesn't require loyalty. It requires action. So what is it? How is my life going to be different with you in it today? Right? So remember that. Career security is replacing job security. But the only way to have that is to know your brand or your value, your secret sauce, right? Because a job will be ripped away from you in a second, but knowing your value stays with you for life. Nobody will ever, ever take that away from you. So it's your responsibility to figure out what the heck that value is so you can be paid for it and paid well for it. But remember, if nobody knows about it, that's not going to happen. So we're seeing a lot more discontinuous career paths, more people working on contract, freelance, starting their own little businesses. You guys, there are no more jobs for life. Innovation is replacing, that should be 2020s. Innovation is starting to replace a lot of jobs. You have to be able to demonstrate learnability and soft skills, and this is also the best way to create your own job. So if you don't like what you're doing, or if you want more responsibility, first of all, find out what your value is, and then go to your boss if you've got a good relationship with them and just say, hey, listen, I think I can make you look really good. Oh yeah, well, how's that? Well, if you move me into this area, I think I could do this, this, and this for you. Maybe they don't know, right? Make it easy for them to understand. I've seen numerous people have jobs created for them, and you know what the easiest way to do that is? To do an IP on them. Because maybe you can solve a problem that they don't even know they have. Isn't this one of the parts of what makes an administrator so good? You know problems before they do. So create your own role around that. Okay, so your career is your business. Manage it like a CEO is my message. We have some programs that I'm going to go through with you. One of them is our 10-week boot camp. It's an online program. We've had enormous success with it. It's $5.99. There's a 15% discount for AAP members. If any of you want to talk to me further about it, just reach out to me by email afterwards, and I'm happy to explain that to you. If any of you want to register for any of the programs on our website, please use this code AAP 2021, and the discount will automatically be calculated for you. A few things that I wanted to talk to you about, and I'm going to take you to our website, and then I'll bid you adieu for lunch. We have a transferable skills workshop. It's called Emerging Sectors and Transferable Skills. The reason that I bring that up is because it includes a really cool aptitude test. So that helps you to identify what those transferable skills are, the kind of jobs that you could apply those skills to, what kind of careers and professions might exist for you. And you might even have some hidden skills that you didn't even realize. So, but it also looks at your passions, not just your aptitudes and the things that you can do really well, but also your interests, and it combines the two. And then it produces a list of jobs and careers that might be a good fit for you. It also provides excellent wording to help you further have you better brand yourself. The other one is called Knowing Your Brand. That is an excellent workshop. And it's 6 hours long. Actually, there's two parts to it. The first part is 6 hours. The second part is 2 hours. They're where you get to practice your brand. I would highly recommend it. It's where we start everybody in our programs. And then, of course, the other is our COVID Career Bootcamp, which I'm going to show you in a minute. While I'm just getting the screen, does anybody have any questions? No? Okay. So our boot camp, if anyone is interested, you can just check it out here. We also have information sessions. I would recommend that you register for one. They're free. They're just, I think they're 90 minutes long. You can just register for them on our website. So all of the dates for them are here. So the next one is January the 19th. And you can see, so with the boot camp, there is a number of live workshops that you'll attend, practice clinics. It's extraordinary value for what you get. You will work in a cohort. You'll be able to help each other. A lot of times our clients get jobs from each other's network. You'll get access to watching all of those grizzly dens. And then we take you, and there's an online learning component as well. So you get access to an online portal. The other programs are here. And so you can just, I'm not going to go through them all, but you can just check them out. We've got one, if you just want some basic career support. Others, some of these programs include coaching, others don't. So if you have any questions on these whatsoever, please just let me know. I said that I would show you just quickly a little clip of the grizzly den. So would you like me to end with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so hopefully you can, let me just see here. I'm going to have to make sure that my volume is on. Had phenomenal results helping professionals, corporations who need to downsize their staff, and professional athletes transition and transform their careers. These people have pitched themselves to the Higher Landing Grizzly Den, a unique part of the Higher Landing approach, which includes a live panel of influential decision makers, similar to the Dragon's Den, to either help or hire these people for their dream jobs.
The value of the Grizzly Den is you've got a bunch of people that are in positions that you may want to be in at some point in your life. They don't know you, and they're going to give you their honest first impression of you.
Pardon my bluntness, but sometimes you are a dime a dozen.
Tell us what you have out there that people really want. How are you different?
What's the thing that you can tell us for sure that you're here to do and be?
All right, so if any of you want to watch, these are really cool. Now they're all done online, and if you just go to the bottom part of our website, you can see, you can actually
Thank you, Kelly.
see some of the presentations. So I'm not going to show them all to you now, but you're welcome to look at them. Okay, so do you guys have any other questions?
Is all of this relevant or worthwhile for somebody who's approaching, shall we say, the latter part of their career life?
Great question. Is that Suzanne?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, you know what? We have a number of people in our program at the later stages of their career, and they don't know whether they should keep working or they should retire. And, you know, let me just define later stages, because later stages to one person doesn't necessarily mean later to somebody else. We had a fellow come into our program, and he decided, he decided afterwards, he came to me, he said, Jackie, I just want to thank you. And I said, thank you for what? He said, well, I just landed higher. And I said, oh, wonderful. I said, well, where did you get a job? He said, well, I didn't. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, after going through the program and doing that self-discovery, he said, I realized what was most important to me and where my value was. And I said, well, what's that? And he said, I'm going to be a stay-at-home dad. And he said, you know, I'm in my 50s. My wife and I had trouble conceiving, and I've got a 5-year-old, and, you know, this kid is the most important thing to me in my life. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a stay-at-home dad, and my wife, she's going to work. So, you know, regardless of what stage of life or career you are in, you guys, this is not just about managing your career, it's about managing your life. Because even if you do decide to retire, you want to have a purpose-driven life, right? And you want to make sure you understand what your value is so that you can keep that going. I mean, there's nothing worse than dying on a bike. Do you not see people that retire and all of a sudden, you know, 6 months later they die, or something, they get health issues because they don't feel that they've got a purpose anymore? I don't want that to happen to any of you. You can still apply your purpose in other ways, whether it doesn't have to be in a traditional, you know, paying employer-employee type of role. So yeah, for sure. But so we help people through all of that. Any other questions?
There's a question in the chat asking, have you written any books?
Ah, great question. I'm actually working on one right now about knowing your brand. So I will certainly let AAP know when that is out.
Perfect.
I know I do a lot of the teaching, and I'm getting tired, so I'm at the point where I have to start passing along my expertise in other ways. Any other questions, you guys? I certainly hope to see you in the next workshop, and I think that is going to be on April 19th, isn't it? And we're going to be talking about career branding. And
yes,
then
I was just going to say that on you're going to get everyone to join us on April 19th as you're going to discuss career branding for admin professionals in 2021. And I want to remind everybody that you're going to be our Kickstarter for our admin professional give back week as part of the admin professional month. Right. So that's excellent. Right. We're really looking forward to having you back in both instances.
Well, thank you, Wendy.
And many more to come.
That's wonderful. Well, I've got a soft spot for your profession, because I actually started my career in the recruiting industry placing administrative professionals. I worked for a company many years ago called Drake. Drake International, and they sent me all over the world, and my job was to place, we call them secretaries, receptionists, admins, office managers, bookkeepers, all of that sort of thing. And I got really good at it, so they promoted me. So it's awesome to kind of help all of you in that regard. I really admire what you're doing, because it's you provide a lot more value, I think, than a lot of organizations wouldn't be able to survive without you. I'll just leave it at that.